How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome into the 2024 Sun Conference Softball Media Day hosted by NAISB. My name is Reagan Harrell. I'm with Southeastern University head coach Kayla Watkins and pitcher Autumn Hunter. Coach Watkins, Autumn, how y'all doing today?
Good. How are you?
Awesome. Really excited. We talked about a little bit of this before, but little history. The first coach we had on NAISB was Coach Watkins. So really excited. Year two of NAISB, getting to have you back on and talk a little bit. Coach, can we talk a little bit about Autumn? Just tell us about her and how much she means to your program.
Yeah. So when you guys reached out about talking today, I was pretty excited to bring Autumn on and let you guys hear from her. Um, Autumn, I think, is probably the first pretty traditional recruit that committed to me at Southeastern. So she came in my second year. Really, just a cool story about how she got here. She is from cold weather USA and really wanted to get to the South. And I remember when she came on campus originally, just thinking, okay, there's some things in her that I think could be really special. And she's just been an athlete that has literally worked from day one since she's been here. That first year as she came in, she just came in and competed at a high level. She always wants the ball in her hands. You could think that like maybe she doesn't have her best stuff that day, or maybe somebody's got her number, and she's just such a competitor that usually if you think that, you're probably going to be wrong about it. The other really cool thing about Autumn is she's just a really great leader. She cares about doing things the right way, and she competes. And so because of that, she really invests in her teammates around her. She's invested in the culture that we have here. So really just she's someone that we've watched from day one impact our program, but also continually grow. So it's kind of crazy to sit here with her as a senior. It's like, how are we here? But just really excited to see her, get on the field for her senior season and compete and continue to enjoy the experience and impact our program.
Yeah, it's kind of similar when I was going through. I was like, oh yeah, Autumn Hunter's a senior now. I was like wow. You said it was a kind of interesting way with her being recruited. Obviously, her cold weather USA up in Wisconsin. Autumn, could you kind of talk about that? What got you to Lakeland?
So my mom actually played college softball in Georgia. And so she always like would tell me that going down south was the best decision that she ever made. She loved it down here. So I knew going into my recruiting process that I for sure wanted to go somewhere down south. I toured a bunch of schools, and SU was always my number one. It has a beautiful campus, coach was great. It was just a really good fit for me. So I was so excited when coach offered me I was like, oh yeah, sure. I'll take a minute to think about it. But really I wanted to just be like, yes, yes, yes. So yeah.
I had to put on the poker face just a little bit. Autumn, entering year four, your senior year, you've had a phenomenal career already. If you did hang up the cleats today, you finished with a 2.0 ERA on the dot, 44 wins and 420 and 2/3 innings in your time in Lakeland. How have you maintained this success, and what have you done this offseason to ensure you have a great senior year?
I've always prided myself in working really, really hard and bringing others along in that. So over break, just a lot of lifting, a lot of throwing at a facility that I have. My travel ball coach was always really nice about allowing me to throw in there, since you can't exactly throw out in the cold in the middle of winter in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
But just a lot of hard work, checking in with teammates to make sure that everyone's, staying on track to really dominate this season. So
A little off topic, but do you ever just kind of screenshot the weather app and send it to your family back in Wisconsin? Say, hey, check this out.
oh yeah, absolutely. They're so jealous.
Coach, you start off the year two top 25 doubleheaders against Reinhard, Freed Hardman, travel to Gulf Shores. I mean, business as usual, and you all have a really tough non-conference schedule. What are you looking to see from your team this in the early parts of the year?
We always start out the year that way. Our goal is to really get some teams in. We love it when they come down here, and we want to play competitive teams. I think it's really important always. no team's ever the same. And so there's always newcomers that we're trying to introduce to, hey, what does top NAIA softball look like? And so we try to do that in February. And so being able to see that, being able to play a lot so that we have opportunities to quickly make adjustments and compete early, right? Like, I just think it's really important that we understand that competitive mindset early in our season, because then that sets the table for what we're going to do when we get into conference play. Gulf Shores has always been a good tournament for us. Again, it's usually very competitive. We go on the road, we're together as a team. And so we just love those opportunities to prepare us for conference play. So we're excited that it's going to still look the same way. We've got a lot of really good teams coming in February. So we're grinding hard right now to prep for that. And, I'm really excited to open with Reinhardt. They took a game from us in the opening round. And, I just think that's a great way for us to start, for our players to understand, like, we're going to compete, and really to set the standard of that day one is really important to us.
And Autumn, this will be your fourth trip to Gulf Shores. Can you just talk about how fun that invitational is and what maybe some of your favorite memories from there are?
So that tournament is always so much fun because there's always really, really good competition, like Coach said. We've had a couple of really, really close games that have gone on. I think there was like a game against Campbellsville that was 14 innings, maybe. Yeah. It just went on, and just always really, really good competition. One of my favorite memories, though, is that we always rent like a beach house with all of us, and our families are always invited to a crawfish broil, which Claire Seconder, her dad, puts on for us and the rest of the families. So yeah, it's a good time.
Yeah, some of that good old Louisiana cooking. It got me a little hungry. It's about lunchtime, but I had to go get that. Speaking of Claire, that she's you and her have made one of the best dynamic duos the last couple of years, and always have so much fun over at Southeastern whenever I get to go there or wherever I get to see y'all are having a great time. You just talk a little bit about the culture of the Southeastern softball team and how fun it is to be a part of it.
Sure. Yeah, it is. It's so like loving. We always have each other's backs. Like, me and Claire are each other's biggest supporters. And two, we've added a couple new pitchers to the roster, and we're all just like working together. I think it's going to be a really cool dynamic. We also always talk to like the outfielders and the infielders, and really just like creating like that bond between us is like a super important thing in our program. So.
Awesome, Coach. Obviously, any coach as a senior and a junior coming back in the circle with as much experience as Autumn and Claire have is a huge advantage. But other than those two, are there any other returners really in the field that are going to be a big impact for the Fire this year?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we had both Chapel Cunningham and Leah Gonzalez that had really good years for us last year. Both of those players are similar to what I talked about with Autumn. They came in as freshmen who we knew could contribute to our program. Both of those girls, their freshman year, man, they just put their head down and they worked. They both had good freshman campaigns, but those freshman campaigns where they really worked set them up to have just really great sophomore campaigns for us last year. A cool thing about the two of them is like they're also two of the most like fun-loving players that we have on our team. They have a lot of fun. That the two of them have different personalities, but they bring something to the table in that regard of just like staying competitive, but also keeping things light. So we're excited about both of them coming back. Obviously, we mentioned Claire. The duo between she and Autumn is just really cool to be able to go out and put two kids on the mound that can win a 7-inning game every day they go out. That's a big deal, I think, at our level. I think it's contributed a lot to our success. So I'm really excited about that. And we had a couple of other freshmen that got a lot of time last year. Nikki and Danny Wasserstrom both had a lot of playing time last year as freshmen. They're actually twin sisters that both just came in, again, just work. Like you talk about culture, I think that's something that we really try to emphasize is that we're going to work. Another freshman that had a really good year last year was Lauren Seconder. I told people every opportunity I had, like there was not a better third baseman in the conference for us. Just super smooth, really good hands. So we've got a lot coming back. Obviously, we graduated some really impactful players. But the goal for us, right, as a coach is that you may graduate impact, but you've got impact coming back. And I think that's true of our roster. It's kind of hard to talk about just one or two people.
Right.
We've got a lot of impact coming back.
Yeah, you mentioned right there at the end with Lauren over at third base. When I go over to Southeastern and doing coverage at y'all's games, I'm usually posted up right there on the third base side, and I got to see her against Georgia Gwinnett, against Weber, and I was like, there's no way that's a freshman playing third
Right.
base. And then I talked with my co-host Taylor, who he's a defensive guru. I'm like, you need to check this out, and he's like, yeah, she's not. There's no way she's a freshman. And again, two more of those names, Leah and Chapel. I mean, what they've done this offseason, and those who don't know, helped the Grandview player who tore ACL, rounding, I believe, second base. It was for against y'all, and Leah and Chapel helped her touch third, touch home, and really showed what Southeastern, Sun Conference, and NAI is all about, and they were represented at the usual awards. But Coach, what about newcomers? Any newcomers for the Fire that the Fire faithful should be pretty excited to see?
Yeah, so Autumn mentioned we've got two freshman pitchers, Eden Playa and then Fia Salinka, and we're excited about both of them. They're both originally from Miami. The two of them are probably like pretty opposite in what they do in the circle. We're excited about that. Eden's a lefty who's going to spin it, and we're pumped about her. She's a competitor. And then Fia's going to complement that with some power and movement. And so obviously, those are important to us, as you talked about having two upperclassmen pitchers who carried a lot of innings for us, and trying to be mindful that as we graduate impact, that we're bringing in impact, right? So that's pretty important. We have a couple of other girls that we've brought in that are gonna, we think, be really strong and powerful for us, and also really good speed. Haley Brooks is one of those girls. She's a freshman, and then her older sister, Ella, is also going to be with us. She's a transfer from Mars Hill. Both of those are lefty bats that have power and speed, so we're really excited about that. She's not a newcomer. She's a returner, but we lost her about midway through last year. That's Riley Sanders. She's going to be back with us, and she's been on the field this week, really full go. That's been really fun to watch. There's a different fire in her right now because of not having the opportunity to play a full season last year. And so pretty excited about that. So a lot of people have asked, what do you think it's going to look like, Coach? And I think, what we're hoping for is we're going to have the same pitching and defense that we've had, be really strong there, and power and speed. Like, that's what we try to do. And so we've got a lot of newcomers that we think are going to bring that. So
it's awesome. And then having Riley Sanders back is huge. I mean, at the beginning of last year, I was one of the bigger storylines with her going out and then missing the rest of the year. I mean, talk about getting 70 plus stolen bases and batting 400. There aren't many teams of the 197 NAISB or NAI softball teams that have that. Autumn, for you, this being your senior year, what are some of your goals, not only as a player, but as a leader of the team?
So I know one thing that we really want to do as a team is win the Sun Conference tournament. We've won regular season. We've gone to the World Series. That is like a big, like, personal kind of goal of ours, because it's a little chip on our shoulder. Like, we should have won, and we are really coming and swinging with that. Of course, going to the World Series, I feel like that one's, a goal for everyone, but also really just dominating the season. We're really working hard. We're hungry. We've been holding each other accountable a lot in that. So I'm just really excited for the season.
Awesome. Coach, let's talk a little bit. As last year, or last 2 years, made it to the championship game of the Sun Conference, came up just short. Last year, you fell to the eventual national champions in Southern Oregon, in Ashland. How did you use that as motivation to get back to Columbus and win the Sun Conference tournament this year?
Well, I mean, I think Autumn just talked about with the tournament. I'm not sure if you know this, Reagan, but we have never won the tournament.
Yeah, that's one of those more shocking stats. I saw that last year, kind of leading into. I'm like, Well, what do you mean they haven't won a Sun Conference tournament?
Right. Yeah. So that in itself, like that, we don't have to say that a lot because we know it. Right. And so, but being able to talk about it and it not be a pressure, but it be an opportunity and it be something that creates hunger, like Autumn just talked about. So I think that's a talking point. I think the other thing, and we'll begin having this conversation even more, like what you just talked about, being able to be at the top of the sun the last 2 years, opening round last year, World Series the previous year. It'd be easy to think that that's just the natural thing that happens. And the reality is that's not how it works. You've got to get there and you've got to work to get there. So we don't just find ourselves in those places because we're Southeastern. We find ourselves in those places because we put in what it takes to be there. And so that's really the conversation, is that grind continues every day. And, we've got to work and we've got to produce to be able to be in those positions. As Autumn just said, being hungry for those opportunities. That's what we really want to talk about. We want to be in the present. We don't want to just be thinking about May or thinking about last May, right? We want to be in the present and be grinding and competing right now. So that's really the conversation.
Like you said, it is a grind, and Sun Conference is a grind. Y'all both have a lot of experience coaching and playing in the Sun Conference. Could you both, Autumn, we can start with you. Just talk about how tough it is playing in the Sun Conference.
I mean, we always see multiple teams from the Sun Conference in postseason. Every team there, you can get beat by any team on any day, and you can beat any team any day. It's very, very competitive. You never know who's going to show out, and you always have to be super ready for whatever, really.
Coach, how about you?
I think that's so true. I think a couple of years ago in the Sun, we went to that 3-game series. I think it's something we've enjoyed as a program, but it's one of those things that it does create that opportunity that anybody can take a game in a series from anybody else. Another thing I think that we're going to see even more this year, we had a number of coaching changes last year. So a number of coaches were in their first seasons last spring. All those coaches are moving into year 2 leading their programs. And I think we're going to see the impact of that this year. So I think we've got some really quality coaches out there who've invested in their programs. And so what has already been a really competitive conference, I think is going to get even more competitive this year. So, it's interesting. We talk about the schedule we try to play in February and early March. And I think what we're going to see is that schedule is going to end up being mirrored when we hit conference play. It's going to be tough.
I'm really excited for it on all ends. Really excited to cover y'all and everything else. And best of luck 2024. Really appreciate y'all.
Thanks, Reagan. We appreciate your coverage. You do a great job, and we appreciate how you're supporting our sport.
Thank you very much.